So this is my first video. I'm kind of camera shy. Kind of weird. Anyway, I wanted to give you guys my testimony, and I'm all about serving the Lord, and I wanna bring praise and glory and love to Him. So I felt I needed to do this video, and I've been pushed to make a video. So anyway, my father went to visit his father in Florida, Jacksonville, and he wasn't a believer, and his father invited him to go to church, and he was like, no. But he rethought it and was like, well, I didn't come all the way to Florida just to let my dad go to church alone. So he ended up going to church, and he went into like this singles group. But before he went in, there's this free brochure rack hanging on the wall, and he went through it, and then class was about to start, and he went in, and the pastor there, my dad could tell that he really believed what he was saying. He loved the Lord, and Jesus was working through him. So anyway, they're going through the Bible, and my father thought, wouldn't it be nice? I wish I had, a Bible to read along with. So he was like the last one in the class, and he was like the first one out of the class. So there really wasn't much time for someone to place a Bible in that rack. But as he was leaving the class, he walked past that rack, and he stopped and he saw a Bible there. And it made him think, is that how God works? And so he took that home, and he'd lay down at night, get ready for bed, and he'd read like a page, maybe 2 pages, and kind of go, set it down and go to sleep. Did that for 2-3 days. So anyway, his father had a hearing aid, and he would frequently turn it down or off, and my grandfather brought home this book called the Screwtape Letters that he found, on the road. It was beat up and ugly. My dad was like, why do you bring these things home? But he ended up reading it, and one of the things that it said is basically that demons, Satan, fallen angels, those things, they can't stand to be mocked or taunted, made fun of. They can't stand it. So he had the great idea to mock and talk smack to his father's demons or demon. My grandfather frequently had said throughout his life that his demon was bothering him. His demon was acting up, and we always thought it was nothing. But later we find out demons are very real. So anyway, that night he laid down in bed, and keep in mind he's not a believer at this time. And all of a sudden, it's like a presence stands in front of his bed, at the end of his bed near his feet. And he said that he couldn't really see it, but he could feel it. And this, what I assume is a demon or some kind of evil spirit, spoke to him. And what it said was, if you want to find me, I'm in a hole under a rock. And this thing was radiating cold, he said. Like he was just, standing in front of a freezer. And, he was overcome with fear. That's a frightful thing to experience. And so, not being a believer, the only thing that came to his mind, and, what he said was, I have Jesus Christ in my heart. And instantly, the presence left him, and a sense of peace and warmth came over him, like a blanket of peace and warmth came over him like he'd never felt, and comforted him. And I mean, he fell right asleep, like, nothing had happened, like he was completely at peace. That's amazing, I would say. To be in, from one moment you're petrified, frozen with fear, to the next moment you can go right to sleep just like a baby. Praise the Lord. He is good to us. And so anyway, my dad the next day got up, started flipping over rocks, uh, not thinking much of it, but he was helping my grandfather do some things around the house and in the backyard, just little things here and there. And a pain came over him. It was like vice grips clamped down on his knee. And he didn't do anything that would warrant that kind of pain. And I guess it was, debilitating. Like he couldn't do anything. And my grandfather had no TV, no radio, no internet, nothing. So what did my father have time to do? Read the Bible. So he spent basically 2 weeks, and he went through the entire New Testament. And, my father and I, we've always been kind of the conspiracy theorists looking into government stuff. We've always been kind of hip on the New World Order. Not hip like we agree with it, but like we know the powers that be are making plans towards something. So after reading the Bible, it all finally came together. It all clicked. It was the missing piece that made it all make sense. We always knew that these things were happening in the world, but we didn't really know why. So, after reading the Bible, he knew why. But just before he got done reading it, he thought, wouldn't it be something if that pain in his knee went away as soon as he finished? And sure enough, as soon as he finished, closed the book, the pain went away, left his knee. Perfect. Healed. Done. And so my father came home and announced that he was a believer and follower of Jesus Christ. He was hesitant to call himself a Christian, but he did, only because he doesn't like to be, classified and put into a category. So he came home and told me that, and I mean, it blew my mind. I was in disbelief, confused, and furious. My father's a great guy. He, very intelligent, hardworking, kind, considerate, loving. He's an outstanding example of a father. So anyway, forgive me. Uh, I was upset. I couldn't believe that this man that knew all the things and then some that I knew could be saying he believed in Jesus Christ and was following him as a Christian. We always believed in a God, but higher power. Well, we always thought Jesus was just a guy, probably a good guy, but not, the Son of God. I was in his face, screaming, swearing. I was upset. and he kept his cool the whole time. I mean, I know he was boiling inside. I'm sure, I'm not sure. I know he wanted to whack me, slap me upside the head a little. But he kept his cool. He kept calm the entire time. And I ended up giving him the benefit of the doubt. I decided to start reading for myself, check it out. And so, while reading, I couldn't disagree with anything that was said, especially with just the select teachings of Jesus Christ. Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible, which took just the select teachings of Jesus Christ and put it into its own little book. And that's kind of what I started with just the select teachings. So after I read just Jesus's words, I moved on to the New Testament. And laying in bed one night, my eyes got blurry. I was reading the Bible, and they got extremely blurry. Like I did everything that I could to clear my eyes. I was rubbing them, looking around, trying to focus on other things. And finally, in disbelief, and in frustration, I closed my eyes and said a 2-second prayer. Basically, Jesus Christ, if you were real, please clear my eyes so I can read this book. And I opened my eyes, and they were clearer than before they went blurry. 2 seconds. Closed my eyes, prayed, opened them, clear. And, one night, I don't know why, but I was laying in bed, and my whole body ached. I mean, I was in so much pain, head to toe. My head was throbbing, my feet were throbbing. Everything was just in pain. And, I finally prayed, and that pain was gone instantly. Just gone. And, I mean, it came back, but it wasn't nearly as bad, but he took that pain away, and it was amazing. It felt like I was floating. Anyway, since then I've been seeking the Lord pretty actively, seeking the truth, and, the Lord has been working in my life and opening my eyes as I continue to seek Him and, seek the truth. And, I can just say that if you don't believe, just try praying to Him. I mean, look, you don't even have to pray to Him. If it's against your religion to pray to Him, just talk to Him. Just, ask Him to reveal Himself in your life. Show Himself, and seek Him. You have to seek, and then you will find. When your heart honestly wants to know the truth, when you want to know the truth, He will reveal it to you. But you have to seek Him. Pray. Pray and read the Bible. He will guide you. He will help you. Anyway, thank you for listening to my extremely long testimony. God bless you, and much love to you, brothers and sisters, and I hope this helps someone. Have a blessed night or day, and I'll be making more videos later.